Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your morning cup. Alright, so it's the day after Christmas, and a lot happened. Let's just quickly jump straight into the world and everything that the world has to offer us today. So news comes out today that according to data and logistics, one person dies every 10 minutes in Los Angeles County from COVID. That's how prevalent COVID has become in the city of Los Angeles, as well as the death count that has just been going up, even though the vaccines have become a thing. We move on to Boko Haram. Boko Haram is a terrorist organization, for those of you that aren't aware. As a matter of fact, Boko Haram is considered to be the second most dangerous terrorist organization after ISIS. And they came to a point wherein Boko Haram did way more worse atrocities than ISIS ever could contemplate. You see, Boko Haram wanted to prove a point that they weren't to be taken lightly in any speck of the imagination, especially when ISIS came to power and rose to the prevalence that it did. Boko Haram felt kind of neglected, considering that they were an organization that was existing from way longer than ISIS. Yet, today, they are the only organization that is openly claimed to be massively influenced by a terrorist code of conduct, if there is such a thing in the first place. Boko Haram killed 7 people on Christmas Eve just to send a message. A week ago, Boko Haram had kidnapped upwards of 40 children from a school. Today, we come out with the news that they killed 7 people on Christmas Eve. We move on to the Pope, with the Pope urging that there are many countries across the globe that might not be able to afford the vaccines that they require to make sure that each and every individual is vaccinated for the coronavirus throughout the globe. You see, the Pope went out of his way to say that every single country needs to do the extra and go the extra mile when it comes to trying to help and make sure that the entire species gets this vaccine. We move on to what happened today morning at 6:30 a.m. in America, with Nashville being rocked by one of the largest explosions in recent memory. Luckily, the timing of this explosion was such that the area was not very crowded. Had the explosion taken place at 6:30 in the evening rather than 6:30 in the morning, we would have had a whole different story today. You see, some people and the authorities as well are claiming that this was a planned event. As a matter of fact, certain people have gone out of their way to figure out certain details that were otherwise kept under the covers. It turns out that this was a camper van which was planted in front of the AT&T building, which is a data cellular provider in the United States. As a matter of fact, the region where this camper van was positioned in the first place is a very densely populated area in the evenings. And prior to the explosion, at around 5:30 in the morning, cops came across a weird message being blared from this camper van, stating that there would be a massive explosion in the next 30 minutes. Upon further instructions and upon further investigations, ensured that the entire area was evacuated as much as they could. But at 6:30, there was a massive explosion that rocked the entire city. Vibrations as well as sheer shock waves were felt thousands of meters away. What we understand from this is that it's still a developing story, yet the issue of it being planned and a very well put together act of terrorism are high, considering that this act ensured that the bomb would go off at the exact time. And this is with the benefit of the doubt that they weren't just someone who were horrible at understanding what they were doing. So it could have been a coincidence that the bomb went off when it did. But considering that there was a warning blaring 30 minutes prior to its explosion, it seems way more calculated than otherwise anticipated. We move on to Wonder Woman 1984 being released across the spectrum, both in cinema halls as well as on the internet for streaming. And this might just be the future for all things media that comes out. For all we know, the future of new media as well as all these new main feature films that have humongous budgets might be released on the internet. HBO Max as well as a few other players in the big streaming game are making their bids for future releases, and it's just gonna go to see when we actually look at the numbers about how many people actually went out of their way to go to theaters and watch this film in comparison to the ones that streamed it on the internet. We move on to another alarming news about severe reactions to certain vaccines that have been administered throughout the globe. Well, doctors and elderly are the very first people to receive vaccines no matter where you are in the globe. And certain doctors have complained about severe reactions to said vaccines. But in all transparency, these doctors were then rushed to the hospitals. They received their required treatment for allergic reactions and are recovering very well. Now, we don't know why these vaccines are reacting the way that they are, but considering that the process to generate this vaccine was rather expedited, we should also understand the fact that we are dealing with a virus that is very dangerous, and a vaccine to this virus is required. We move on to the world of deep fakes, with major world leaders putting out Christmas messages, including the president-elect as well as the president of the United States, along with the Queen of England. But what we don't see in the mainstream media today is the fact that there was a deep fake, that is a fake video, which was also released today, which had the Queen giving out a Christmas message. You see the difference between these deep fakes and the ones that have been put out earlier is rather drastic. Whereas on one side it was very prevalent to figure out if something was a deep fake and a fake video generated on the internet. These new waves of deep fakes are rather convincing, especially from figures that you would not come across on a regular basis, like the Queen of England. And any message that would be put out through these deep fakes that can convince people of what might not be the truth is very dangerous for the regular Joe. With this, we're coming to an end to this year, but the world keeps changing. We can only hope that the year 2021 does way better for us than the year 2020 did. But up until then, stay tuned to this space for your daily dose of the Morning Cup. See you.